Okay, mama, let's talk about the number that makes everybody nervous. The price. You validated your idea, you know the problem that you're solving, you're ready to create, and then you freeze. Is this too much? Is it too little? Am I charging enough? Will people actually pay for this? If pricing your first digital product feels intimidating, then today's episode is going to bring you clarity and calm when we return. Hello, mothers and mamas and girlfriends. Welcome back to the Making of a Mompreneur Show. I'm Rasheeda Green, founder and CEO of Get Coaching, the creator of the Mompreneur Academy, the host of this wonderful Mompreneur HQ community, and I am also the Mompreneur. And I help moms who are determined to find time, money, and location freedom to start, grow, and scale their online business so that they can build the business of their dreams without neglecting themselves or their families in the process. Now, what we do is help you through courses, content, community, and of course the Mompreneur Academy. And we like to be out there helping you to create digital products so that you can do this on your free time, in between time, in the meantime, and still make money, considerably passive income, while you do all the things that motherhood and entrepreneurship have you doing. Okay? So just in case you didn't know, that's what we're doing. And today we are talking about how to price your first digital product. And of course, that's without undervaluing yourself or overthinking it, because we're not going to do that. Not in 2026. All right. If you are joining us live, make sure that you go ahead and let us know that you are joining us live, #live, and where you're tuning in from in the comments, please. And if you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and comment, subscribe, or even follow us if you haven't already, and let us know the type of shows that you like, the type of content that you like, so that we can make sure that we are reaching you where you are, because we are business owners, just like we're talking to business owners. They call that B2B, so that we can help you and you can help us in making sure that we create content that's going to be helpful to you in your entrepreneurial pursuits. All right, we are continuing our series on the B for business in our BFFs pillars. And last episode, we talked about validating your idea before creating it. So today, we're going to answer the next natural question after you've done all of that. How do you price your first digital product in a way that makes sense for your audience and for you? So we're going to talk about why pricing feels so emotional, because we get so tied up. Let's just acknowledge something right away, right? Pricing is not just math. We hear it all the time. Is the way you build out your pricing is, this is how, how much you paid, how much you invested, or your expenses, and this is how much you want to make on top of that. You should be about a cushion of 20-30%, or if it's digital products, you can go as high as 50-60%, or even more as far as your profit margin. But it's really not just math, it's mindset. And for many moms, pricing triggers fear of rejection, fear of being seen as greedy, fear of not being good enough yet. And this comes up and it ends up being a block, not only a trigger, but a blockage. Some people don't even come out with the pricing on the product because they just gave up at that door. As soon as they thought, oh my gosh, people are going to be like, no, I'm not buying this. I can't. They're not paying. They're not going to pay for that. And they're going to be like, who I think I am. And then in the faith community, there's the idea that, hey, if you're doing this for Christ, you shouldn't be charging people. Yeah, no. God will provide, absolutely. And everyone, I believe, there's a request for tithes and offering. So there is an opportunity where you can offer up your services, your goods and services for free. And that is acceptable unto God, right? That's your offering. But in order to get a tithe, you have to make money to get money, right? And in the sense of you have to grow crops in order to tithe crops. It's the same, it's the same ideology. So I'm not sure why people are still on the fence about that and feel like they can't make money when God is a God of abundance and of wealth. I think I just veered off my topic today. Just that quick, but we're going to get back. We're going to get back. And I think because we were talking about triggers and pricing triggers, and I know that's a trigger for people in the faith-based communities, that there's always this concern. I don't want to look like I'm being greedy because I'm charging for a service that I'm providing. I'm being greedy. Okay, did I get back on it again? I'm sorry. I'm going to get off. Here's the shift that I want you to make. Pricing is not about what you're worth as a person. Do not take it personal. It's about the value of the solution that you're providing. Like, even when you think about your car, you can most definitely just go to any old body car wash to get your car washed. And even with that, there's several different prices. When I tell you to get my car washed, it was $31. I almost passed out. I was like, to wash my car? What are we doing? This is just external and some vacuuming and giving me a little air freshener stick thing to hang up in my. Why? But when people think about the convenience, oh, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to get out there and use my water and use my arm strength and my bubbles and suds and bucket, and somebody else could do it. Okay, so I'm going to pay for convenience. And that's the same thing. People who see the value in your product will be, or service, would be willing to pay whatever it is to get that service done, depending on the pain point that you've identified, the problem that you're solving, and how urgent the need is for that person. So all those things play into pricing. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but I don't want you to get stuck with, oh, if they don't buy it, it's because of me. No, it's the price. The price is the price. And yesterday's price ain't today's price, if we want to say it like that. Because once you build up your business to a point where the service that where people are buying, and that's when you can start testing out higher prices. But again, we're not going to talk about that, all of that right now. I got ahead of myself because I got triggered talking about the things that people say about pricing and being greedy. And as a faith-based entrepreneur, I'm not supposed to make any money. That's a false. Let's talk about it. Price should be based on the problem that you're solving. When pricing your first digital product, I want you to start here. How painful is the problem? If you're solving a mild inconvenience, that's one price range. If you're solving something that saves time, money, stress, or confusion, that increases the value. Okay. Now we're talking, we're solving multiple problems at once. And these are heavy hitter problems. Nobody wants to be stressed out. Everybody wants to save time if they could, and absolutely want to save money if they can. So, you want to be able to give them a product that's going to do that, solve that problem. Now that's increased value. So a $17 checklist that saves someone, say, 2 hours, that's reasonable. A $47 guide that helps someone avoid a $500 mistake, come on now, that's a no-brainer. I'm only spending $47 to solve a $500 problem. The more specific and outcome driven the solution, then the easier it is to price confidently. So 2, I want you to consider your positioning, not your experience. I talked about in the last episode how I thought I had to have all of these businesses running and all this experience in order to coach people about creating digital products. This one thing, considering your position, is very important because many moms price based on how long they've been in business. Oh, I just started, so I'm going to start small. But your customer isn't paying for your years in the early years. They're paying for the clarity that they need. They're paying for the solution that they need. So no matter how many years you've been in the business, If you have the solution to their problem, that's what they want. If your product delivers a clear transformation, even if it's a small one, it deserves to be priced with intention. So your first product doesn't need to be 297. It can live comfortably in the 7, 17, 27, 47, 97 range, right? Depending on the complexity and the depth. So start where it feels aligned, not necessarily where it feels performative, okay? Where it's aligned. You don't have to start out with a 997. And mind you, when we talk about mindset in our last episode, I know we talked about it earlier. So when we talk about mindset, that pricing is a strategy and is a mindset. Even when people say the pricing of 997, that is an actual strategy. If you were to just Google, why do people price items at 9, goods and services with a 7 or a 9 at the end? And it is so funny how the psychology of it is, why can't it be an 8? Why can't it? It can be. But there is a psychology to it where people feel like if they pay $1,000, oh, that's too much. Mind you, if you say it's $997, they feel like they're getting a deal, even though it's only $3 difference. They feel like they're getting a deal. At least it's not 1,000. It's psychology, sales psychology, it's strategy, and that's what all with price, and that's what is involved with your pricing. We talked about price based on the problem that you're solving. Let's consider your positioning and not your position, your experience. But now we want to start simple. Start simple because you can always increase. And here's something very freeing. Your first price is not permanent. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. It's not permanent. You are allowed to raise your prices later. In fact, many smart creators start at a beta price. That's a founder's price or a beginning price or I just got started price. And then they gather all the testimonials, drop it on their website, and then refine their product based on the feedback they received during the beta pricing. And then guess what they do? They increase the price. Pricing is a strategy. It's not a tattoo. It's not permanent. You ain't got to stick with the price. Okay. And then we want to avoid the two common pricing extremes. Okay. There are really just two extremes that are out there on a constant basis. And extreme number one, underpricing out of fear. God has not given us a spirit of fear. Come on now. Charging $5 for something that solves a real meaningful problem because you're too afraid that no one will buy. We got to stop it. We got to stop. Let's get some. Now, we do have some products out there that are quick fixes and they start low because they're beta or they're low because the competition is so low. But you don't have to price yours out of fear that no one, if you put all the things that will solve a problem, people will buy it because it's a solution to the problem they have. So whether it's $5, $15, or $50, if your product is clear, concise, meaningful and has meaningful transformation, people will buy it at that price. Fear not, mompreneurs. Price it in a way that positions the value. Okay. Then the other extreme is overpricing without proof. Yeah, I'm coming out the gate with 997, but you have no social proof, meaning you have no testimonials. You've not done any market research to show that this is the price, the industry selling price, the competitive price, none of that. You're just charging premium prices before you even validate the demand of the result or the results. You don't have any results to share that reflects that pricing. So your first product is about traction, not ego. That's why you see a lot of people start with those founders pricing or that beta pricing, because it's not about, oh, I got to be the top dog and sell these high price items. It's about, hey, if I can get one sale, then I can get 10. If I can get 10 sales, then I can get 100. If I can get 100 sales, I can get 1,000. And so you get that traction going by starting out with your price low. You don't have to do this. I'm just saying, because we're talking about pricing now. It can be you if you've done your research and you see the industry pricing is around this price, a higher price point, then you can go with the higher price point. But it's based on your comfortability. But again, we don't want you to operate out of a space of fear, and definitely not ego. So those are the two extremes that we see: underpricing out of fear and overpricing without proof. We got to make sure that we are monitoring the way that we are presenting our products. You want buyers, you want feedback, you want movement. So pricing it at a lower price, hey, that might work for you. A beta price, a founder's price, that might work to get all the feedback that you need to be able to increase the price later. Now, of course, even after speaking about all these pricing strategies and ideas, you still may be wondering, but what if no one buys at that price? Again, let's face the fear. What if you pick a price and no one buys? Guess what? It doesn't automatically mean failure. It doesn't automatically mean that the product is bad. It doesn't mean that you're not qualified or that digital products just don't work. But it could mean that the messaging isn't clear. The problem that you're trying to solve isn't urgent enough. The audience isn't warmed up to you. They're like, who is she and why she thinks she can sell me this product? Or the price just needs to be adjusting. It's also psychology that doing discounts and sales may be hurting, and freebies may be hurting your business. Because one of the analogies they like to share is that Bentley doesn't have sales, Maserati doesn't have sales, or all these big brand name vehicles, they don't have sales on their products. The price is what it is. So if you going to pay if you want this vehicle, you're going to have to pay 200 grand. It's not, there's no coupon that we're issuing for this vehicle. You're just going to pay the price because that's the price, right? So we have that type of ideology, but in the world of digital products, that's not usually the case. It's still a real and valid concern. What if no one buys at that price? But I just want you to know, pricing is part of the experiment. You may not get it right out the gate. You may have to test the pricing. You may have to test the positioning and the messaging. But that is all a part of the process of being an entrepreneur and getting out your first or next product. Let me ask you something. When you think about pricing your first product, what emotion comes up first? Excitement, fear, doubt, or confidence? I want you to drop that one word in the chat. Share that with me, because awareness helps you separate emotion from strategy. And we want to get out of emotion and get into strategy. Why? Because we want sales. And if we're stuck in our emotions and what we feel, we may not move forward because of fear, imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, or anything else like that. So we want to make sure that we are assessing where we operating, what emotion comes up first: excitement, fear, doubt, or confidence. Drop it in the comment field. Now, when your pricing is aligned, your business grows sustainably. Your family benefits from the structured income. Hey, ching. Your self-care isn't sacrificed to overwork. You're not overworking. You have your system in place and you're just making sure that you get your product up and running. And then your faith isn't compromised because you're doing this desperate pricing, right? I'm just going to make it $9.97 because I need some money. Trust and believe that God is a provider, and he also gives wisdom. So definitely consult the good Lord in all of your decision making, and use the strategies you've learned and the tools that you have to create the pricing that's going to be best for your business. And so with pricing with clarity protects all four of our BFF pillars. So here's the next move. I don't want you to overcomplicate it. Choose A price based on the problem, the transformation, the simplicity, the stage you are in. And then guess what you do next? Launch, learn, and adjust. Smart business owners don't just guess perfectly, right? They refine courageously, right? They're being bold and courageous. They're stepping out on faith. They're doing things that they may not have done before and doing it scared, but they're still doing it. So I want to thank you for joining us today and learning how to price your first digital product. If you haven't already, I want you to go ahead, comment, subscribe, share, follow, tell your business besties about the Digimompreneur and the Making of a Mompreneur Show so that we can grow our community and continue to touch lives and impact mompreneurs everywhere. Everywhere. I want to thank you for spending this time with me today. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Making of a Mompreneur Show. Until next time.